Yeah? Okay. So we are a few lines above the middle of page Tes. The line starts with the word Zehu Bechines Pnimius Hasfiris. Yeah. So we discussed yesterday, to some degree, the principle of Pnimius. Pnimius Hakav. And we have this muscle that we wanted to kind of point to what is the Pnimius. We say Pnimius remains always the same. Pnimius Hakav, this is Tiferes and Elam, and this is the Kav HaEmtsoi, and it is everywhere the same, it doesn't change. And the Tzimtzum cannot affect it. So we had a couple of mashalim to point to the principle. One of the points that we made was the fact that we said this is ma. Ma is b'gematria odom, and odom, one of the identifying qualities, factors of Odom is that he stands on 2 feet, which means he stands in a manner that does not support, that the earth does not support him. He stands independently. And we said that this is due to the fact that he is aware of a certain reality that that he associates with, and that this is what holds him up. So I want to further elaborate it. I mentioned a long while ago a principle of a tightrope walker. You remember that? We discussed a tightrope walker. Mendel Futerpass Shalom, when he was imprisoned, and he himself was also a tightrope walker. It's interesting. But there was in the prison in Russia, there were all kinds of people. There were all the gifted people were in prison. So there was among them somebody who was adept at this trade. So he spoke to him, and he explained to him, the walker explained to him that the most important principle in tightrope walking is on the either end of the tightrope there is a pole. That, yes, it holds up the rope, but more importantly, it gives you a focus. It gives you a sense of equality, of equanimity, of balance. And the only way to walk is to focus in on that pole.
Gives you a sense of what?
Of balance, of steadiness. The rope can be shaking in all directions, but it gives you a steadiness, and that steadiness is what guides you, what gives you the ability to continue on the road. Let's examine this for a second. Now this pole is actually holding up the rope. This holding up of the rope is like a functional element of this pole. It holds up the rope. The presence of the pole itself is beyond functionality. This is the reality itself. The holding up the rope, this will allow you to stand on the rope and whatever it is holding you up in middle air. But the pole, this is your orientation to the reality. You are held up by the real thing, but that's only a functional element. Not enough to give you the sense of balance. There's the real point itself. This is what we mentioned many times, especially recently. You must understand this principle that in everything there are all kinds of development in the functional level. That which initiates the first trigger, that's the reality of it. This is what gives us a sense of reality. That continues on, that never dissipates. Like we say, Bereshis bara Elokim z'shamayim v'ha'aretz. Elokim initiated the creation of the world. And then he created a huge world. And now the world functions, quote unquote, on its own, with all the whole seasonal cycle and the daily cycle and whatnot. What is the reality of the world? The initiator. Lose sight of the initiator, the whole thing collapses. The whole thing collapses. And we have this example, right? The sunlight. The Rebbe created light, and they put it into the sun. And the light is a very special gift to the world that lifts the world to a new level, to a level of light, a level of reality. Lose sight of the fact that it's a gift from the Creator, and it loses totally its potency. And it becomes a bit of energy that allows you to see individual objects. There's no reality to it. There's no human quality to it. Where the human being and the animal are equal.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
The tightrope. The reality is just the pole itself.
Yeah. That's the balance. That is what's holding it on. But more important, that is the solid base. And if he, they were saying that there was this what do they call it, trickster or whatever it is. He decided he's going to,
the performer, the acrobat.
He wanted to show that he can walk backwards. And that's the talk. He can't walk backwards on the tightrope.
This is a mashal for the Pnimius Akav?
This is a mashal for the principle of Pnimius. What's Pnimius? This is Kav HaEmtsoi. Kav HaEmtsoi, this is what relates to the Etzem. There are the spheres, there is the Gilui, that which comes by Gilui. The oil that comes by Gilui, that can be Nishamtzim. But the essential element of the oil, the Etzem, that cannot be Nishamtzim. And that Etzem represents all the spheres on an Etzem level. Coming back to our analysis of light. There is the effective light, the functional effective light, that there is a light that hits an object and you can see blah, blah, blah. Then there is a concept, light. That concept is an essential concept. And again, this is something which only the human intellect can detect and can associate with. But he says there's a reality to this. This concept has been mentioned many times. Is not light, it is the sun. The presence of the sun itself. Because there is a sun, therefore there is such a phenomenon as light, not functional light, but the reality of light. Light is as real as darkness. But we point out that in the sun, light is as fundamental as darkness by us. The presence of the sun gives us that sense. When the sun rises, it isn't just light comes in, the sun rises. It's a new period, a new reality. Right. Yeah.
Before we started talking about tightrope, we mentioned spheres de ma, and how man stands, and how man stands his stance.
Let me conclude this. Maybe John. Man stands not because of any functional aspect. Man stands because he recognizes that there is a fundamental reality in the world. And he relates exclusively to that. That's why he's functioning in the world. Because he's real. Because the world is real.
And that's a product of having spheres de ma? Or that's the nature of...
No. That's not a product of spheres de ma. That's a product of the fact that there is the etzem. And spheres de ma are always referring to the etzem. You don't become just spheres, just functional. But this is called the Kavah Mitzvah. It's pointing directly to what makes the spheres real, the fact that there is an etzem. Loi signoiv. What makes Loi signoiv real? Anoch Hashem Elokecha. Let me point out, this is something which is so prevalent in our own experience and we don't realize it. Ownership of property. What is the real basis of real ownership, the way human beings relate to it, without realizing it? Is that there is a reality. If ownership were just the result of capture, then we would be living at the animal's level.
This that a man has to eat, or his feet do have to touch the ground. This is just Hashem's way of making it so that he's involved in the world. He's doing a birur there to some extent.
That's right, because he's connected. He connects the top and the bottom.
And this Emsa'i, this middle point, is he's not an angel, and he's not a Lavdil Bahema. Is that this we had yesterday? This is the middle.
This is the middle because the middle, okay, the earthly reality and the godly reality are one and the same thing. Because the principle of reality means it's not just functional. Where does reality come from? Rishis Bor Elikim. This is what the Rambam says. If you lose sight of the principle of Motzei Rishon, you begin to understand how things function in the world, you won't have Chochmah. You'll have all kinds of different causes, but not Chochmah.
Okay.
You also say you have to preserve society, you have to allow people to live together, all kinds of different quote-unquote basic principles,
Right.
but they're not principles really. They're artificial principles.
Right. Yesterday they said why is this you said a middle line can be beautiful and healthy and all the rest of it, but why is it godly? And then it seemed like we went into this union of the human being.
But that's always emotional to illustrate. Can I have the water, please? I can't. I'm sorry.
So I'm just trying to remember what the godly
The point
element is,
the-
that he's on a shlichus from Hashem between heaven and earth. Is that the middle point that's godly about it?
Okay. It seems like we got lost in the middle of a sentence. Okay. The middle point, we say that Adam said that this is Derech Havaya.
Right.
So he said, the middle point is a very beautiful, wonderful path to follow.
Right.
But why is it called Derech Havaya?
Yeah.
The answer is because only the presence of Havaya permits you to follow Derech HaMitzvah.
Uh-huh.
Because naturally you tend to one extreme or to the
Oh,
other.
right. But the Indian of tzedakah as well.
Yeah.
It's only okay.
You either stand on the right foot or you stand on the left foot. Stand on both feet and continue to walk. That's Derech Havaya.
Right.
It's only from a sense of purpose.
It's
only from a sense of purpose that you could do that.
The purpose element, this is how it translates on our functional level. This is how it translates by us. But where does it come from? It is from our awareness of reality. It's real. Real means it is not circumstantial. Motzei Rishon, as we said, Motzei Rishon is a first being. Where does first being come from? Why is there a first being? What's our answer? There is the whole question doesn't even apply because it's a real thing. When you have a question of how come this is here, because that which is not first, that which is circumstantial. This is not circumstantial, this is real. That is what we relate to. This is what the human being represents. This is why the human being is full of quote-unquote contrasts and contradictions. Right? He stands on the ground, but he stands on 2 feet. That doesn't make sense. The Alter Rebbe says, Shevi Yipil Tzaddik will come. Tzaddik falls and rises up. If he falls, what makes him rise up? If you stand on 1 foot, why don't you just topple over on 1 foot? You don't even realize that this is a phenomenon. What's balancing you? What's keeping you straight on the tightrope as you're walking? The reality, I'm not standing, I'm going there. That's what keeps me up. Finally, what's holding a bicycle? Anybody consider that?
What's holding up a bicycle?
Mm-hmm.
You're balancing it. You're holding it up.
Try to hold up the bike, standing still.
Sorry, It can be done, but it's very hard.
It cannot be done.
Well, you have acrobats who can balance.
Yeah, but that's not balancing. That's like a tightrope.
Right, exactly.
But the bike doesn't go that way. The bike goes straight.
So what's the answer? That it's going somewhere?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It has what they call dynamic equilibrium. It is only balanced when it's moving.
Aye. Low battery again. Can I have that? Ah, thanks. Another 5 minutes. Yeah. Thank you.
So the derech havaya is that a person senses a purpose, but a purpose that's divinely given.
I lost it. Yes.
A reality.
Derech havaya means that I'm this derech because there is havaya. That's mean derech havaya.
Should I call the
Yeah, please do. It's not picking up.
code? Anybody know the code?
Yeah.
973
973
438
4. Shlomo Band is calling me. It's 973
438
438
4357.
4357.
Pound.
So you said that the purpose is what's give like the strength to do a middle path. How does the knowledge of a Matzi Rishon?
I'm sorry?
How does the knowledge of a Matzi Rishon of a reality? Why does that like give us a middle path? I understand like purpose, but what they said that it's like the knowledge of
No, it doesn't.
the reality gives
No.
us like the.
Please understand, that's
derech
my
havaya.
point. That
Please record your thank you. You are now entering the conference room. To exit the conference room, press **. For help, press *9. You are participant number 1.
oh, it's already there. The initiator of any process stays with the process throughout. Motivation, if motivation, this is again, that is stays with it indefinitely. Shlomo, my telephone is died. You can call the conference right now. Be put on the phone. Thank you. That stays with it all the time. You pick up and you're going to travel. You're going to Montreal. What keeps you going, even if there is a roadblock because there's construction or whatever? The direction you're going to. That you will never lose. Think about this. You're traveling on a highway. You enjoy the drive. It's beautiful. And then there is traffic, obstruction. So you say, I don't enjoy that. Let me turn around and go the other way. I can go free over there. That will make perfect good sense from the perspective of the experience of travel. But it'll never happen if you're a human being. Why? Because you have the motivation. The same is true in every aspect of life. You sit down to eat. You sit down to eat because eating is one of the is a healthy thing. And then the food is tasty, and you lose your equilibrium. And you eat for the experience of eating. It's exactly the same thing as turning around and going the highway the other way. I was once talking to somebody who's Nebuch. I said, look, there's one criterion. When you're not hungry anymore, stop. That's it. Yeah. With the Chinese, there is a tradition. When you eat until food is right there, then you excuse yourself in company. Walk out, and then you come back to eat. It's a perfectly acceptable human activity. All right, so the time is up. Just wanted to get this clarity, this principle, and we can go on. This is why it's called Derech HaMitzua. This is why it's called Derech HaMitzoi. HaMitzoi means the middle. The middle means that which relates directly to the source and goes through right the entire mitzvah. They have the right and the hand, and then they have the spine that holds up the whole body. Everything. All right, so this is it for this morning, and we'll reconvene mission tomorrow.
No.